Okay, so we all think we know pizza, right? It's that perfect food we order on a Friday night, but what if I told you its real story is packed with ancient soldiers, a totally fake royal myth, and a global takeover that started on the streets of Naples? Well, let's get into it. Today, we're going to peel back the layers of cheese and sauce to answer one simple question. Where does pizza really come from? And trust me, the answer is way older and honestly a lot weirder than you might think. All right, so let's kick things off with Chapter 1, the ancient ancestors. Because long before Italy, there was just flatbread.
You see, the basic idea of pizza, flatbread with stuff on it, is super old, and it wasn't just in one place. Picture this, it's the 6th century BCE, and Persian soldiers are baking flatbreads with cheese and dates right on top of their battle shields. How cool is that? Meanwhile, over in ancient Greece, they had something called plakos, and the Romans were eating panis focaccias, which, you guessed it, is basically the granddaddy of modern focaccia bread. So the idea was already there, bubbling away across the ancient world.
Okay, so that brings us to our second stop, Naples, Italy. This is where the dish we actually recognize as pizza finally gets its name and really its soul.
And get this, the actual word pizza shows up for the first time in a document from way back in 997 CE. But it had nothing to do with food, really. It comes from the Latin word pincere, which just means to pound or to stamp. Like how you'd flatten out the dough. And here's the thing. For centuries, pizza wasn't some celebrated dish, not at all. It was basically simple, cheap street food for the poor people of Naples. The rich kind of looked down on it. And it was missing that one key ingredient that would change everything, the tomato, which, remember, hadn't even arrived from the Americas yet. And if you want a sense of just how big a deal pizza was in that city, check this out. By 1807, way before Italy was even one country, records show there were already 54 pizzerias operating in Naples. It wasn't just a place for pizza, it was the place.
All right, this next part is a big one. Section 3, a queen's legendary pizza. And this is where we really have to separate the myth from the mozzarella.
I'm sure you've heard the story, right? The famous legend of the pizza Margherita. In 1889, a chef named Raffaele Esposito supposedly invented it for Queen Margherita, using tomato, mozzarella, and basil to look like the Italian flag. It's a fantastic story. The only problem? Yeah, it's just not true. Historical records are pretty clear that pizzas with those exact toppings were already being sold all over Naples for decades. The whole story was probably just a clever marketing ploy cooked up in the 1930s.
And we have the receipts, literally. Just look at this quote. It's from 1849, a full 40 years before the Queen's supposed visit. This guy, Emanuele Rocco, is just casually describing popular pizza toppings in Naples. And what does he list? He mentions thin slices of mozzarella, tomato. So yeah, the evidence is right there. The Margherita pizza existed long before it got its famous royal name.
So, if the whole Queen story is a myth, how did this humble Neapolitan street food become a global superstar? Well, that brings us to Chapter 4, Pizza Crosses the Atlantic, and how it completely conquered America.
It really happened in 4 main stages. First, it arrived with Italian immigrants in East Coast cities in the late 1800s. But for a long time, it just kind of incubated, staying a beloved secret inside those Italian-American neighborhoods. Then comes the game changer, World War II. American GIs stationed in Italy fell in love with the stuff. They came home with this brand new craving, and that led directly to the final stage, the explosion. By the 50s and 60s, pizza went totally mainstream, becoming a true American staple.
And you can pinpoint some key moments in that takeover. In 1905, the very first licensed pizzeria in the U.S., Lombardi's, opens its doors in New York City. Then, in 43, a totally new, uniquely American style is born, Chicago deep dish. And by 1948, the trend had gone north, with Canada's first pizzeria opening in Montreal. It was official. Pizza was a North American food now.
And that brings us to our final chapter, how pizza went from an American favorite to a true global phenomenon, a journey that takes it from the back streets of Naples all the way to UNESCO.
I mean, to say pizza is popular today is a massive understatement, right? It's one of the most popular, most versatile, and most beloved foods on the entire planet. Every country seems to have its own unique spin on it.
And that whole incredible journey really hits its peak in 2017. That's the year that the art of the Neapolitan pizza maker, the pizzaiolo, was officially added to UNESCO's list of intangible cultural heritage. I mean, just think about that for a second. The simple act of twirling dough, which started as food for the poor, is now recognized and protected as a global cultural treasure. It's amazing.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? We've seen pizza go from a snack baked on a soldier's shield to a poor man's street food, to the subject of a royal myth, and finally to a protected piece of world history. It's been an unbelievable ride, which just leaves us with one question. What on earth will be the next slice of pizza's history?